Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, we got done with our meditation and mantras, and Cindy went into a channel, and I reached out to Laurel, and she answered, and she gave us messages to give to you guys out there, and specifically that right now what's going on is a lot of rapid change. Really, we talked about the eclipses, we talked about how these eclipses had the potential to bring in so much good, so much positive change, uh, irregardless of what the efforts of the dark side has been doing to counteract that. And it's happening. It's happening. Change is coming in, and we are pushing back, which is wonderful. And again, every time we go through this cycle of growth and there's a lot of positive movement in the light realms, the dark side will, of course, panic and attack and push back. But what's happening right now is that many light worker starseeds are having their abilities turned on and they can't handle it. They're not prepared. They haven't done the work. They haven't put in the consistent work that's necessary to keep yourself grounded. Our DNA is changing rapidly. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. If you go back to the 1980s, there was talk of us entering the photon belt, which is, and I'm going to recap a little bit for those people that have never heard of any of this. So there's new people always coming aboard. We were entering a period and a place, a period in time in which we were going to be leaving a dark zone and entering an area where there's a lot more light, in a sense, a lot more positive energy that is going to speed up the evolutionary process. We do know that there is a lot more cosmic rays bombarding us every day. And part of this is because we are in a magnetic pole reversal. So the magnetosphere is weakening. The magnetosphere is like the shields on the ship, so to speak. If you're talking about Star Trek, Scotty, the shields can't take it anymore, Captain. The shields are going down. And also we have a grand solar minimum. And so normally when the sun is in a period, a typical solar cycle, and the basic solar cycle, it's changeable, but it lasts around 11 years. But then there's these periods of extremely low activity, and there's different cycles in there as well. And we don't know exactly how deep of one that we're in. Is it a 200, 400 year cycle? Is it a 6,000, 12,000 year cycle in the bigger scheme of things? Is it even a 25 or 75,000 year cycle, as we've gotten some numbers from the Galactics that really do confirm a lot of the work that was done by the channeling of the Law of One, the raw channeling material, the fact that we are basically we are in a 75,000 year cycle, so to speak, right now, that's coming to a conclusion. So your DNA is changing because also the sun typically will shield us from cosmic rays just because of a strong solar wind and strong solar activity. So the sun's shielding effects are down, the Earth's magnetosphere is down, more cosmic rays are coming in, and in these time periods, it causes evolutionary change. And people like Robert Felix, who he actually has a book on this, have done a lot of studies, and there are scientific studies that also show at these times there are mass extinctions and then there's brand new species that pop up. If you look to the human evolutionary tree, you see things like Homo habilis. They're there, then they're not, they're gone. Then there's new ones that pop up, other humanoid species, Homo erectus. There's, of course, many are familiar with Neanderthals and now Denisovans and Cro-Magnon. Australopithecus, Ramapithecus. We could go on down, and there's so many different humanoid beings that have been on this planet that they're here, and then all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. And if you look closely, a lot of these disappearances coincide with cycles, big cycles in time. And of course, there's always this artificial flavoring involved, as we say, from the powers that be. So your DNA is mutating. If you look to the second chromosome, we see that we have a splice there. We have been genetically edited, and in such a way as to limit our abilities. And this editing is done by those entities that you call the Anunnaki, the ones that reptilians working under what we would call the Draco. And the Draco, again, are mostly fourth dimensional beings. They're able to get into the lower fifth, some of them, and some can manifest also here on 3D as well. But they mostly control hosts. They mostly control beings, especially of certain blood types and certain vibratory frequencies. And this is why you have the elite families being the elite families, because they are easy to overshadow, control, and manipulate, and basically possess, as many of your leaders are not even really human anymore. They're more just shells, uh, just a fraction of what they were as the darkness basically envelops and takes them over.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what is going on. This is basically a huge awakening. So what are the cities? And we've talked about this. We've talked about recently, we did a video where we were talking about, are you going to be a mutant or a zombie, so to speak? Because you're either going to evolve naturally, or there's going to be artificial flavoring that's going to keep you from evolving and keep you into the lower vibratory signature and frequency where these abilities won't evolve. And right now, there's many out there that the abilities are evolving and you don't know how to handle it because, again, you haven't done the work.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something where it sounds like it's something that is happening. It's going to happen, and we need to take some kind of control, some kind of responsibility of our own evolution, even though we haven't been educated on it, even though we haven't been, this information hasn't been brought forth to us. We do need to have some kind of control, and it sounds to me like we all need to take a step back, and understand that these abilities are, they're life changing. They're life changing, and there's always opportunists out there. And when it comes to, those beings, Mike always says it starts with an I, ends with an I. They're opportunists, and they've developed certain programs to kind of lasso people in if you show abilities that don't appear to be under control. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants anyone to be put in a place that's not conducive to their growth. So it just feels like we need to take a little step back and kind of anchor ourselves in a bit more as things develop, because we haven't been taught enough about them.
Yeah, as I've said, there's declassified FBI and CIA studies that show exactly that they're very aware. They did studies a long time ago, back in the 50s and 60s, to test this. And they knew that entering this time period, people were going to develop paranormal abilities, quote unquote paranormal. They're really normal abilities when we're out of the Kali Yuga, which we are leaving. We have been leaving that darkness. And this is why they can't hold on forever. Because they're basically literally going to be torn away from the higher frequency. And so they want to hold on to as many people as possible, even out of this life. So you have to realize too, as I've said before, the powers that be, they know in most cases who you are before you know who you are, meaning that they know who you were in previous lives. And so if you ever wonder, why would somebody be interested in me? As back in 2017, I was reached and sought out by that group. And they told me they were watching me for a very long time. And that was, right when I was just starting to channel and had very few views. Why? Why? Well, because they knew who I was from previous lifetimes. Again, this is a 3D, 4D loop, so to speak, where we're in 3D when we're conscious in the body. When we're out of the body, we're basically in 4D. And in between lives, most of us are in 4D. Some have come down from the higher realms, fifth and sixth density, to help. And those are the ones that are doing better in this time period because they know the value and they've done the work and they understand that you have to have a regular routine. You have to ground. You have to have a regular practice because we're all developing, for those of us that are avoiding certain things that lower your frequencies. And when you see everything that's going on in the world, this is all about fighting ascension. That's the bottom line. Everything going on. We could blame it on the left. We could blame it on the right. We could, use whatever derogatory words we want to use for the people that we are blaming for all the troubles in the world, creating these endless wars, creating GMO foods, creating all the toxins, the poisons around us, the runoffs, the spills, the mass die-offs of the animals, the birds, the fish on the planet. The reason why our fertility rate is dropping like a rock off a cliff, 60% less sperm count in males. Yeah, it's totally planned, it's totally orchestrated, it's part of the bigger picture because they know they're losing us. They're losing their herd, they're losing their flock, they're losing their valuable resources. If you go to the Anunnaki legends, they're losing their slaves. The only way they could keep their slaves is if the slaves don't advance up to 5D and stay in this 3D, 4D loop. So that's why they are begging you to do things that will keep you in their loop. At the same time, there are those that have not done those things. And, again, I'm talking about artificial, things artificially being introduced to your being, to your vehicle. And I know a lot of you will pick up what that means. A lot of you that haven't done that, well, you're awakening to these abilities that masters like Babaji, not quite there yet, but they're starting to come out. Masters like Babaji, Yeshua, Jesus, and Sri Yukteswar, who was the teacher, the guru of Yogananda. And when Sri Yukteswar was about to leave the physical body, his beloved student Yogananda was 100 miles away in a different town. And Sri Yukteswar was able to go into meditation and physically manifest in front of him. Physically manifest in front of him. Some of the yogic abilities include things like clairvoyance and telepathy, and perhaps even things like being able to levitate, where we've seen instances of monks and yogis levitating. As we've talked about, tens of thousands of cases of Buddhist monks that have attained the rainbow body and simply they achieved ascension and left this reality, sometimes leaving nails and hair behind, sometimes just a scorch mark on the floor. Sometimes their body shrivels up to be maybe a foot long and just weighing a couple of pounds, and they're gone. And it's really these amazing things is where we're heading, because we're heading into a less dense, more elastic, plastic, flexible reality, where your thoughts are going to create reality much quicker. So you have to be ready to handle that.
Mm-hmm. And I find it really interesting when I was learning about these things is when they would have a funeral for somebody who had passed, they wouldn't tell where the funeral was because there actually wouldn't be a body to be found, which could cause legal problems. That's what nailed it for me. Then I'm like, wow, this stuff really is happening. It really is cool. And it really is attainable. How many past lives do you need to do before you attain that? I don't know, but it's attainable.
And that's one of the things too, is remembering past lives. And that's huge. When we can remember our past lives, get glimpses of what we have achieved, understand a little bit bigger who we really are and our purpose here. And that's part of this, is what Laurel kept saying, they don't understand their purpose. They don't understand their purpose. Too many of them are waking up without understanding their purpose. And we know that we've encountered quite a few of our family members that are having a hard time grounding themselves. Right now, it's just like a roller coaster ride. It's a yo-yo, up and down, amazingly good, and then incredibly horrible. And this is part of the great separation that's going on, because our reality is literally being torn apart, torn in half, so to speak. It is a great separation. So, there's a lot of things you can do to help yourself. And again, Qigong, we uploaded another video today talking about the three treasures and understanding this. Because again, ultimately we're energy beings. We're consciousness itself. The physical body is just one component, and it's a shell just for consciousness to occupy and go around in this reality. And that the reality itself is changing. But Qigong is powerful, and there's a Qigong meditation yoga playlist there. I would recommend these practices on a daily basis, whatever you could get in, whatever works better for you. Yoga obviously is awesome. Anything mind, body, breath will help in these times. Still meditation as well. But we do need to be working the body out. So, cardio, some resistance training, those things could help you ground as well, and produce endorphins. So, you could get those feel good bursts. It's critical. So that's one of the things that Cindy and I have been reprioritizing, which we always had a really good holistic practice until we went on the road. And that made it difficult. But, before, when we were rooted in out west, we were always every day incorporating all of these things in. It was a priority, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And your physical health does influence your spiritual health, your mental clarity as well. It's critical. The other thing too is understanding your purpose, which you can understand through your, as Laurel said, it's your personal star map, is what she said. Understanding your star map is the key to understanding yourself. A lot of people, and myself included, I didn't know my purpose until about 10 years ago. I've only really understood it for like the last decade. I always was incessantly studying as well as practicing Qigong and doing energy work, going into meditation, doing yoga. These are things that have always been a part of my life. But I didn't understand really my purpose. I just thought those were hobbies and passions, but they're part of the purpose. When you look at your star map, then you will understand, why did I come in here? Why am I here in the first place? Well, the star map tells you, because the soul decides the moment to enter the reality that will best give it its best chance at achieving its goals.
And a lot of times, well, especially in Vedic astrology, you don't even really get settled in or have a good understanding of your purpose until after the age of 40. But that doesn't mean you can't look things up and say, what are you inclined to do later in life? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What is it that you're going to excel at? Where do I need to put my time into this life to make um, the best time in this life?
Yeah, we're healing not just ourselves in this time period. You're also healing backwards, through ancestral lines, and healing forwards through time. So, this is an incredible time. This is a tumultuous time. This is a tough time. It's a trying time. Every day you have to be taking care of yourself. You have to be prioritizing yourself. That's part of the transformation here. And it's not that you're selfish, but you need to take care of yourself in order to help others. The pathway to unity consciousness lies through becoming the best version of yourself possible, discovering your true higher purpose, getting in contact with your higher self, because the higher self, that's that part of us that is still in the higher densities. And, again, this is a portion of our consciousness. What is in your body right now, operating your body, is only a portion of the bigger you. You're a much bigger being than you realize in most cases. Some of you understand the bigger picture, of course.
Right. And it is definitely a much bigger picture than, we're aware of, because what we have not been told about ourselves. And they deliberately keep so much information from us so that when people do start to awaken, we're just really, quite frankly, confused and we don't know what's going on. When our life is trying to move into alignment and things just don't appear to be working right, when in all reality, when you're moving into alignment and something feels very, very uncomfortable, this is where you really need to pay attention, because maybe that's not your purpose. Maybe you're supposed to move out of a certain situation and into another situation. So, yeah.
Most definitely. So this is a key time. We need to be out in nature as much as possible. We need to be rooting and grounding. We need to do some sort of mind-body breath work. Keep the physical body as strong as possible. Many of you are telling us all of a sudden, you used to eat chicken all the time. Now you can't stomach chicken. It makes you want to vomit to think of eating meat. Those are part of the natural changes. Or it could be that you used to be a dairy holic, cheese and ice cream and things like that, and now your body just doesn't want it, doesn't process it. That's part of the natural process. We're going to be going to as we head into this lighter period. We're going to be eating lighter too. That's the bottom line. Like yesterday, the best thing we had was basically a fresh juice that we just simply added some spirulina, chlorella, and a few other things to that we juiced ourselves fresh, all organic, and the cells are happy. You could feel your cells clapping and tingling with the life force because this is where we're headed. When you talk about beings like Adama, Telos, like the Pleiadians in fifth density, they eat much different than we do. They don't eat animals. That's part of where we're going. Part of where we've been is not where we're going. So we're going to a new place. If you feel like you need heavier, denser proteins than what we've gotten from them, is that fish would be the best choice. But you could get complete protein with whey protein, for instance, and there's some grass-fed, filtered whey protein that is completely, as far as the amino acid profile, it has all the amino acids. It's a complete protein. It's actually faster to assimilate, easier on the body than meat is, flesh is. So you can, do that and cover all your bases as well. And there are some vegetarian sources too that, when you combine them, can be complete as far as proteins go. But many of you are having cravings for certain things, and that's your body telling you what it needs. You might want to test out your abilities. Send out an intent. Think of your best friend. Think of your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your lover, whatever, and just test it. And think hard on them with the intent: text me or call me, text me, call me, email me, and see if they respond. I think you'll be surprised with the amount of success that you're going to have. Soon we won't need all this technology. They'll be wanting us to just go ahead and put our tech into the body itself so that you could have your tech with you all the time. But the reality is, where we're going naturally, you won't need it. You won't need it, because what we're going to be able to achieve naturally is going to be far better and far healthier than the artificial way of doing things. You might want to grab a deck of cards, perhaps, see, if you have 4 different suits in the deck of cards, then you could figure out random probability numbers, percentages. Try a little mind reading with a friend and see, if you're hitting on more than what should typically be coming out. Play with it, experiment with it, but most of all, get into good, healthy practices with things like Qigong, yoga, cardio exercise, resistance exercise, and watch what you're putting into your body. It's like we could tell, we'll see some people that come through and they probably are coming through the channel for the first time, and they'll make certain comments, and that they're living off of Coke and Cheetos.
Mm-hmm.
You could just tell, that this person is completely has a completely calcified pineal. They don't really have a clue. They're eating junk food. Their body is totally inflamed, and they're just completely stumbling in the dark without a light.
Mm-hmm. Right. These are things that we really need to pay attention to with these abilities that are coming online. They are to be, kind of respected and watched and understood. And we haven't been taught how to use them. So grounding is the most important thing we can do right now. Other things are going to develop on their own in a natural way. And our job is to focus on ourselves so that we understand what are we doing in this life, so we can really get into the understanding of things. Why am I here? What is my purpose? And so on, without people getting in, um, having problems, like having too many ups and downs, because, oh my gosh, we have so many ups and downs as it is anyway. We don't need to be exacerbating things.
Like we said before too, sensory overload. It gets easier and easier the more your abilities develop. It's easier to get sensory overload. So shutting off the router, shutting everything off at
Mm-hmm.
night, so you could get deep sleep. We actually have tinfoil in the bedroom windows, because it'll block out some of the EMF. And we didn't do it. It was interesting that the person that was in the house before us did it, but it definitely works because it shields the bedroom, and allows you a deeper sleep. Listen to your body, and many of you are sleeping way more than you ever slept before. Go with it. Let it happen. Let your body heal. This is a very, very tough time physically for everyone, really, for most people. It's a very, very tough time as we purge all the ancestral stuff we need to purge, as we purge our own things that we need to purge and process. It's really critical that you allow yourself the time for rest and support yourself with great nutrition and develop these healthy mind, body, spirit practices, because that will get you through these times and make you stronger and better than ever. The cities are there. There's lots of warnings traditionally when it comes to the cities, because these city superpowers can become addictive, and they can become the focus and the goal, but they're just a byproduct, because really the goal is ascension and rising up. And again, I'll just do a recap. People that some questions about what's the difference between ascension and the rapture. And what we have gotten about the rapture is that there are certain people at a certain juncture that will literally be taken, some physically in ships off the planet, and in order to be brought to other physical locations that they're vibrating with in frequency, and start a new life in a different place. So that is different than what we're talking about ascension, as we process and go on up on the ascension path, which does take time. Usually can be achieved by some in shorter time than others, but again, that's because of lifetimes of work in past lives that others can achieve things, and or because they've come down from a higher density in the first place. As we said, about 2/3 of people on the earth right now have only their souls, them, have only known a 3D, 4D existence on earth. So then you have 1/3 that are from other places, other planets, other star systems, and higher densities, fifth and sixth density, that have come down to earth in order to help people in this path. And, as I've alluded to before, if we want to talk about the enemy being the AI, dragon, Draco, you could view it as Satan. Again, Satan just means adversary, and you look to the book of Revelation and the tail dragging a third of the stars down. Well, the stars, those are heavenly beings. We could think of them as angels or the gods, so to speak. Well, not that they fell in a negative sense, they volunteered because they're here to get rid of and help us get past this adversary, this AI Draco matrix that we have going on.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what we got going on. So that's what we got today. And hopefully you guys got something out of it. And, you can take this and use some of this information to help move forward and, take whatever nuggets of information that is going to help you and, use that to make your life better.
Yes. So as always, guys, thumbs up, support the channel. Please do share and help waken others. Thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We have a couple of new Patreons that we're going to mention on the next video, because we want to thank you guys for your support. We couldn't do it without you. If you need to make an appointment, if you want to get your Vedic chart done, or need some energy work or help with Ascension, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. As always, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.